felt like it was time here on the floor of the Dallas Convention to talk a little catching. So we thought we'd bring Tanner Swanson back up. What's up, Swanee?
How you doing?
Living the dream, my friend. What about you?
Oh, I'm doing well.
I know I don't want to keep you too long because you got to run up and catch. Fergie on the main stage sat down with us yesterday, but I just, again, got a chance to visit with you up in May when you were in Seattle with the Twins, came through, and got a chance to talk. And the conversation we had, by the way, awesome, in a Major League dugout, talking catching with you. Didn't see that happening 5 years ago.
No.
But was really neat, Tanner, and it's one that, like I told you at the time, man, that really challenged me as a guy that wants to get better at understanding the catching position and where things are at, where things are going, and if I were ever in front of a group, what I would teach. But more than that, what was the current trends and where things are going in Major League Baseball, which obviously trickles down to us. Mm-hmm. Can I just put you on the spot and just say, in terms of your career path and coaching junior college baseball, coaching at the University of Washington on the Division I level, and then moving over and coordinating catching from the Minnesota Twins perspective for the organization, how have you been challenged in your growth as a catching coach to where you sit right now?
That's a good question.
We ask the tough ones here.
Really, it's just I think there's a lot of assumptions in the game in general, right,
okay,
that are being exposed with the advance of new technologies and data, and trying to stay current with that is
right.
challenging for everybody and can sometimes be overwhelming. From a catching standpoint, I think what the tech and the analytics is proving that it's confirming what I think we've always already known,
right,
in terms of the receiving piece trumps everything.
Sure.
But I don't think we knew exactly how critical that piece was.
Right.
We knew it was the most important because of the frequency. It happens more often than anything else. But
no doubt.
The sheer value of a strike and how hard it is to hit at every level now with the advances from the pitching stuff and more velocity and better breaking balls and
no doubt
better stuff. There's never been a harder time to hit, right? So every strike, if you can create additional strikes, the value that has is vast. Right. And I think at the pro level now, what's really helped and sped up my growth is just
sure,
being confronted with that information and being able to really understand better how that can really impact the course of a game and how much more relevant that is. I hate to say it, but compared to blocking or throwing. And you look at the difference between the best blockers in the big leagues and the worst, and it's so minuscule that it's, I don't want to say irrelevant, but the
right,
spread when it comes to pitch framing is enormous. So those guys are creating tremendous value. The guys at the big league level, every level for that matter,
sure,
are creating tremendous value, and I think the data is just kind of validating that. It's helping expose the guys that are really good at it and expose the guys that aren't so good at it. So it's really changing, I think, the approach to just the guys that are playing at the highest level.
Yep.
And I think that, like you said, that trickles down to everybody.
I got so many rabbit holes I want to run down. The first one's this. How have you personally been challenged with that specific point in terms of the data, the numbers, the measurables, the video that you guys are doing, and more than that, your availability to just the top-end information? How has that challenged you? And more than that, how are you seeing the receiving element? Just stay on that, the receiving element. How are you seeing that differently?
It's challenged me because I'm confronted with it, right? And then trying to kind of counter some of the biases that I think we all have about
right,
what we think it's supposed to be. And then comparing that to, okay, what are guys actually doing, right? And how are they doing it?
Detail that for me. What are some things that generalities coaches they think might be happening but really aren't?
I think it's hard to dispute that guys are manipulating the ball.
There we go.
And 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was an era of stick it and just present the pitch where it's at.
Right.
Let the umpire make a call, and let's point out the elephant in the room that we're trying to deceive umpires.
There it is.
I hope they're not listening to this.
Are there any umpires out here? Nobody? Okay, we're good.
That's the truth of it.
No doubt.
The best guys in the game are manipulating the ball, and egregiously. You know, but I think it's egregious when you watch it on TV, right? From the
sure,
center field camera, it looks like guys are really, egregiously moving or manipulating the baseball, and I think the reality is the guys that do it well, it has many elements of deception that umpires don't see.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the information or the data is just proving that it works. So you can fight it and say, we're going to continue to stick the ball because that's how I was taught.
Right.
Or you can embrace it and say, well, it's proving to be effective. You know, and I think a lot of things go into that in terms of setup, the timing in which you're manipulating the baseball. I think this has been proven, right? Hitters, if you freeze frame any hitter at contact, right, their eyes are not on their barrel.
Exactly.
You don't see the ball to the bat, right? It's out in front.
Yeah.
So I think for some reason, though, we've just always assumed umpires must have this superhuman ability to track it 60 feet 6 inches.
They don't.
All the way to they lose the ball too, right?
Yeah.
So the information they're using to make a decision, ball or strike, is the first 2/3 of ball flight. And then the finish, right? They see the presentation. And I think there's a gap there that the guys that are the most effective are taking advantage of that gap. Right? That's deception zone, I would call it, where that's
the
timing,
language you use?
Yeah, the timing of their moves, the umpires they don't see it well, right? So the best guys, I think, have figured that out, and they're exploiting it.
Is it too early to go into hashtag bottom feeders?
No, it was, like anything, you're trying to build a culture or a subculture within a culture, and that was something that we kind of just came up with out of fun, and it kind of developed a life of its own. But just the mindset that we're trying to dominate the bottom of the zone.
I love it.
From a frequency standpoint, there's more pitches ever, and it's especially breaking balls. Now you look at breaking ball trends or off-speed usage. You don't throw breaking balls at the top of the zone. So with the increase of sliders and changeups and curveballs, there's more opportunities than ever, really, to capture the bottom of the strike zone. And the evolution of the strike zone, too, is changing, right? So from an east-west, the days when Greg Maddux could go 2 or 3 balls off the plate for strikes, you don't get those calls anymore. The strike zone is shrinking, not in size, but in width, right? So it's getting narrow.
It's also certainly.
And it's getting taller, right? So there's opportunities at the top and at the bottom. So
don't you think there's more at the bottom, though?
More at the bottom, just because, typically when you pitch up, it's for swing and miss.
Yep.
There's not a lot of opportunities to steal strikes at the top.
Sure.
Because you don't get a lot of takes up there.
Yep.
Or you're intentionally throwing out of the zone for a chase, But at the bottom, there's a lot of opportunities to expand the strike zone.
Sure.
And you look at you look at the top 10 guys in the big leagues, from a pitch framing standpoint, they all dominate the bottom of the zone. Like their heat maps are down.
Yeah.
And it's almost inversely correlated. So if you're good down, you tend to maybe struggle up.
Right.
If you're really good up, you tend to struggle down. And so you can't cover the whole strike zone, just like a hitter can't cover the entire strike zone at all times. So the best guys are learning how to optimize certain parts of the zone based on their guys' stuff. And they're doing a lot of different things from a setup standpoint to try to really capture, whatever zone is important to you. For us, it's down.
Right.
And there's exceptions. If you have the high spin rate, high carry guys who are going to pitch predominantly up in the zone, then there's some things you can do in your setup to adjust to that. So,
wow.
But I think the takeaway is I think catchers now are becoming more and more intentional about the positions they're putting themselves in to try to give themselves the best opportunity to capture strikes.
Wow. I don't want to turn your segment into how do you grow an exquisite beard quite yet, but where I do want to go to is your day-to-day schedule, and I think that'd be a really interesting opportunity to open up and, again, pull back the curtain on kind of what your life looks like as you travel throughout the different affiliate programs and work your way up to the major league level and then back down. Kind of what does your day-to-day look like? What are kind of things you're looking to accomplish within that subculture of the catching corps?
The biggest piece, spring training, is the big one. That's 6-7 weeks, at our training facility and really kind of setting the foundation. We run what I've termed strike school, where it's
love it.
We still block, we still throw. I understand that's a piece of the skill set that's required, but there's a heavy focus on the pitch framing. That's being proven to be the most valuable asset a catcher can possess.
Sure.
So, and I think it's a really teachable skill, and I think the awareness level continues to rise in terms of how important pitch framing is, but I don't know if the industry is doing a lot to really develop it. This is the best pitch framer. Let's go acquire that guy, or this guy's in college can really receive. Let's draft this guy. But from a development standpoint, I think, myself and other coordinators and that are kind of in the middle of it and are trying to figure out how can we better develop this skill. It's a learned skill.
No doubt.
So
that's in your wheelhouse, though, man. Like our friendship on this, like you're engineered that way. You're engineered in that development standpoint. You're personally exhibiting that in the way that you try to learn and grow and even challenge where you're at. But you exhibit that true teacher personality, that true teacher passion and mission, honestly.
I think that's the root of what we all, that's a coach, I think. At least from my perspective, that's the root of what we do. Like coaches are teachers, and our classroom is a field or a cage or anything, like anything else. So I take a lot of pride in trying to continue to grow and improve and learn how to be more effective at developing skills, teaching, motivating, all those things. So, but back to your original question, outside of spring training, once the season starts, I'm on the road about half the month, 15 or so days, and but complete autonomy to kind of go and wherever I need to be between our 4 or 5 minor league affiliates and set programming and get with players hands-on and coach the coaches. That's a big part of it too. We have designated staff at every affiliate that those guys are in the trenches daily, and it's easy for me to come in once a month and I'm going to fix you, but it's the guys that are in the trenches that are that's a big piece, I think, to have an impact is being able to coach the coaches and collaborate and make sure those guys are effective in their day-to-day prep with the catcher and their own development. So, but then a lot of it can be done remotely too. Like I get games, I watch every game from home. So even when I'm not physically on the road, there's daily communication between myself and the catchers and myself and the manager or the catching coach, and full transparency on their performance, which I think has been something that hasn't always been available. Like now the framing metrics, we're not hiding it from the player. I've been open book about this is how the industry, not the Minnesota Twins, this is how the industry is evaluating you.
No doubt.
Like, so I think we'd be doing them a disservice to hide it from them. Like, so here it is. Here's what it is. Like, it's not, I didn't make up the metric up. I'm not pulling these numbers out of a hat. Like, it is what it is. Like, and let's figure out how to, make some adjustments and measure it. And it gives us full transparency on what we're doing. The one knee setup is helping you in the bottom of the zone. Look, since you acquired or made this adjustment, here's what's happened. Or the other way around. Let's not do that.
Right.
But either way, we have, we're figuring it out through trial and error and trying to figure out how to improve and capture more strikes, and that helps everybody, right?
No doubt.
So,
gosh, if the cameras weren't here, I would tell the podcast listeners that I'm doing this interview wearing the famous Tanner Swanson strobe glasses, but I'm not. Man, we love guys like you that have really captured the energy inside of the ABCA in terms of the growth mindset, the lifelong learner mindset and mission. That's who you are, man. It's who you are defined. So it's cool to watch you also get into a position as a friend, get you in a position where, man, you're completely flourishing. And, again, I probably know too much, but just how happy you are and what you're doing, man. Absolutely. And just obviously from where you sit, man, we're just thankful you continue to be part of what we're doing.
Well, I think it's the other way around. I think I need to be thanking you and the platform that you and the ABCA have provided a guy like myself that, didn't have a lot of experience and took a chance on a young coach and threw me on the main stage and what that did for my career. Like I owe a lot to this organization, and I'll continue to be here every year, and it's one of my favorite weekends on the calendar. So
that's awesome. Keep enjoying Dallas. Keep making your rounds around the floor. Now you got to go chase and go catch Ferg a little bit, but
I got to get up there.
It's awesome.
So
we appreciate it, Swanee. Thanks for joining us.
See if he's wearing flip-flops or not. We got a bet.
It's a strong chance.
So
see ya.